For more on how Miami allegedly got so pricey, we're joined once again by our resident Miamian.
I think that's the right demonym.
You can correct me if I'm wrong. Senior commodity strategist Mike McGlone. Mike, you used to live in New York,
You've
right?
made
Are
the
you one of
move.
these people who defected to Florida? What is your take on all this?
Well, the bottom line is from the top down. In New York, if you get a $100,000 bonus, the state of New York and the city of New York off the top take 16%. In Miami, it's 0.
Okay.
That's an unstoppable force. So everything else is kind of catching up to that.
Okay, but there's other, I'm sorry, go ahead, David.
No, you go ahead.
I mean, say there's other costs associated with living with Florida. Like our reporter found, you got to think about things like property insurance, and also you have to have cars, and you have to have multiple cars because you can't get around anywhere else. And if you're trying to be cool, you're probably spending a lot on those cars.
You're getting a nice car.
Aren't there all these other little expenses that add up?
Well, I think you nailed it there. If you're trying to be cool, it's expensive. But if you're like me and just try to go under the radar and you commute on a bike to the office that's 9 miles on bike pass, it's ideal. You don't have to pay tolls. You don't have to worry about traffic. And you get to look at all those people sitting in traffic and say, yeah, sucks to be you. I'm good and I'm not in traffic. But the key thing is, bottom line, though, it's the weather for 6 months of the year is nice. But one thing I think is really happening in Miami is, and I've noticed, it's really catching up. Obviously, there's the traffic. But one thing I've heard from a real estate standpoint, it looks like we somewhat peaked here and starting to head lower. And I had lucky enough, Bloomberg let me come here in 2021. The thing is, we're expanding, but the bottom line also from our standpoint is this is where a lot of sales are. We're getting more and more sales there. And the reason is things like Ken Griffin County is because the tax treatment's better.
I look here at the cost of insurance, a huge consideration as well because of hurricanes there. And in this piece, the highest home insurance premiums in the nation, an average of $8,292 last year. That's according to Insurify estimates. Mike, I know you're very familiar with Coral Gables in South Miami and Pinecrest, all the high-tone neighborhoods in Miami.
He bikes around all of them.
Bikes around the property.
I do.
But what are your observations just about how much property prices have skyrocketed here? I saw an analogy in the piece here that if you're buying one of those houses on a square foot basis now, it is kind of comparable to what you might pay here on the Upper East Side in Manhattan.
The quote I heard from a prominent real estate person, I heard his quote was, if I could short Florida real estate, I would. I think it's very peakish. And one thing you also notice, the construction cranes are everywhere. I noticed that I travel a lot lately to Chicago and Philadelphia, and there's no construction cranes, but here they're everywhere. And that's usually a classic sign of a pink. So I think we're near very peak type activity. But also key thing is, remember, Miami and Florida kind of leads the country. If it starts heading lower, it's a high beta. The rest of the country heads downward. But for now, it's also summer. It's not the time to be here. When the weather gets bad, like it did last winter in New York, people flock down.
The snowbirds will flock down, Christina.
I mean, I'm kind of arguing against myself here as I look at some of these numbers because having just moved to New York from D.C., which I thought was a fairly expensive city. I grew up in Colorado. The price of things here has just really caught me off guard. But when you look at what Miami is now charging, I mean, the CPI in Miami has jumped 36% since 2019. When you look at, home falls, this article says until recently, if you moved, like Mike did, from New York to Florida, you could expect this huge windfall from selling whatever your property here was and investing it down there. But that's getting harder and harder to do because you're getting premiums on these Florida real estate. The one thing I will say, though, is you get more square footage still in Miami for the price. And if you are trying to afford New York, even if you own your place, you are still paying these astronomical condo fees. I mean, I know somebody who owns their place outright, but their condo maintenance fee is like $5K a month, which is insane to me. Is that still the case in Miami? You still are not dealing with homeowner fees? Well, homeowner fees, yes. But I mean, Mike, form words. I'm clearly not forming them. But what's your take on that? Is it still better to get an apartment in Miami? It's cheaper, or it's not?
I like the year-round factor. I can live by a beach and commute 9 miles, and year-round I don't have to wear boots and a hat and gloves all the time. But one thing that happened right away, anecdotal, is I did get hit with assessment the first we moved in, partly because of what happened in Surfside. Fully expected that. But now it's like, where do we go from here? And I think the thing is we've leveled out. And the bottom line is, where's the migration? Most that's happening in this country, it's not just New York. I'm, actually originally from Chicago. It's a migration away from high tax states towards lower tax states. To me, that's an unstoppable force. It looks like Miami somewhat's probably peaked for a while at such high levels.
Mike, let's talk about food. In this piece on the terminal, there's a great line. It's either Carbone or a Cubano, that there's not much in the way of kind of mid-grade options here when it comes to food. So as you've kind of navigated your new city, do you find that to be true? Have all the ancillary things kept up with the building of residential towers and commercial towers?
I think so. I have never had a problem getting good food at a decent price. Now, everything's gone up. But I guess I'm kind of lower end. I don't wait in line at restaurants. Typically, if I have to make a reservation, my wife does that. But no, I'm good with that. I haven't found a major difference. And it's just I don't find that much difference. It also depends on your level. Like if you're not trying to be cool, which I'm not, I find no problem with the food.
I love that you ride a bike. I would not have had that on my pegboard for you. I'm wondering. It is a fun story, but I'm wondering what this rise, and gentrification is almost the wrong word, but these high rises and this higher standard of living in Miami.
Just urban growth, yeah.
Urban growth. It has done we're talking on a very high end here. I'm wondering if this is putting the squeeze even more on medium income and lower income families and communities that make Miami kind of what it is.
It certainly is. One thing that's fairly cool in Miami that I actually love is I am a gringo in many parts of Miami. I mean, the first language is Spanish. Now you go to Fort Lauderdale, the first language is English. But I do enjoy that. I enjoy the multicultural environment, but it's getting much harder for your average person. If they don't own a place, if they own a home that's from 20 years ago, those homes have gone up a lot. But if you're just renting, they're starting to fall behind. It's getting more and more difficult.